First, I'm going to show you this. It's that when I ran in the political campaign to replace Congressman Dr. Larry McDonald, who was supposedly went down in the KAL that was shot down en route from Juneau, Alaska to Seoul, South Korea in August 31st of 83. Let me say this. There's a question of whether McDonald was really on it. And you think that the U.S. Congress would be concerned about some of the way some of their people died. I mean, this man, McDonald, I wrote about in a medical malpractice book, and in that book was part about programming the Tesla files that I was writing about that were stolen in 1930 and supposedly stolen by Donald Trump, President Trump's uncle, who was MIT professor. And the Tesla files, until you should look it up and see, not just mind control, how it's used to program people to shoot or kill in any manner. So you take away the guns, that's a bunch of baloney. How do you think the planes go down? They veer into Russian airspace like this did, which is the outcome. You know it's going to be shot down. Nixon was taken off that flight just prior to takeoff, so they knew it was going down. Now, I end up, because of Larry McDonald, a congressman doctor I'd written about, and they almost killed me April Fool Day of '80. Had letters from the FBI, by the way, ongoing investigation, national security involved. So I'm writing about how you can, the Tesla files, how you can cure illnesses or create them, cause people to appear to have committed suicide, like Robin Williams, Mark from Mark. And then some of the others that were programmed, like the shooters at Virginia Tech and other that have been in the mass shootings. They are programmed to shoot. It's not them. They don't even know they're going to do it. They're programmed. They have no idea they have been. What would they do if they did? Okay, they go to a doctor or tell them they got a chip in the root canal or in them, and they'd be locked up and called mentally ill. Mental illness has nothing to do with mind control, and to treat it is not just medical malpractice, it's psychological warfare. Call it what it is. Now, the program to shoot Larry Flint, when I was doing the book in Marietta. He was shot in Lawrenceville, and here I'm in this campaign in '83, and he says I know who's responsible for his shooting. Anyway, that was April of '84. Pretty ragged now, isn't it? I want to get to this because this entails my father, and I hope this is going to go up. I found out after '83 here that my father's Edward VIII, and I was kidnapped and brought to Moulton, Alabama by the Kennedys, JFK, because this man, President Roosevelt, appointed Joe Kennedy ambassador to England in '36. Notice the dates. That's when my father became king. And this is George, the illegal six. What a beautiful brother. Wouldn't you like to have a brother like him? He kidnapped me, his niece, so his daughter could be queen. She's illegal. They're fake monarch. He should be locked up. He went along with Illuminati, and they put him in power. Look at how cute her legs are. They're all properly crossed like she's this great lady when they're war criminals. My God. Okay, this was 1939 when I was, they're planning my kidnapping. This when I was born. Now I want to go to this. This is my dad, Edward VIII. And I'm going to try to put this somewhere and keep this in order. Okay? Bear with me. I'm going to try to get this up and in order. Now then, when you tell about mind control and the government, people call you every name in the book and do everything in the book to you. So I'm going to go ahead and put this up. I put this. This is my dad, the real Edward VIII, again. Look at his face. I'm sure this is not quite coming out. It's being a little blurred, but you get the point. Now, this picture from here over, but he was holding me. This wasn't in it. Where I was christened, when they kidnapped me and brought me to Moulton, Alabama, he was holding me, his only daughter, and I'm the heir, I'm the legal heir of, I'm the Queen of England. The minute it was born, he was forced out with character assassination. Now then, excuse me when I move around here. My father, this was the character assassination. He never married Wallace Warfield Simpson. She was illegitimate of birth, and I'm telling this because this gets into a puzzle, almost. And the twins, where they put me in Moulton, Alabama, they flew me in at Cortland Air Base that had just been finished in 1941 when they kidnapped me. And Peggy and Carl were illegitimate of birth, and they called them bastards back then. And so growing up, this was the label pinned on me because I was using her name. They'd put me there. The mother, Lana, I don't have their picture right at the moment. Yeah, I do. No, I can't get it out. I just missed what I've got up. She killed Carl at birth, and Peggy they killed so that he was about a year old. The twins were a year older than me when they kidnapped me and brought me there. Excuse me for babbling. I trying to put this together. And anyway, I was brought there, and Peggy was killed about a week to 2 weeks before me, so they already knew and everything. But the twins were born out of wedlock and murdered. And I was given her name, and I still have to use it. I married a Childers. Now look at the picture here. Plain as day. I've been putting it up here with Wallace, and it's the dark truth behind the romantic legend of Edward and Wallace, which is a total lie. You know what that does to me? My father was taken down and by his brother and by the Illuminati because he wouldn't go along with them. He wouldn't take orders. A good man, and it's the illegal treaties after then that allowed the Illuminati, and the end times is what they're really talking about. And me, I didn't know it at the time when I was writing this about chipping people, the global government that kidnapped me and took down my father. Anyway, this is what came into power after then. All you have to do is look at the takedown of my dad. And my birth, of course, it doesn't say that, but I've shown you this of George VI illegal, and he's planning my kidnapping. This is in 1939 when I was born with Roosevelt. Now I want to show you this. This is, they brought me over and had the picture of my dad holding me in my christening gown. I'd been christened, and he was married to my mom. I'd been christened in the Church of England, and they were married in the Church of England. My dad was always married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe Windsor from Madison, Wisconsin, sister to artist Georgia O'Keefe. So this whole thing has been a lie, and when I was born, then they had to, they never thought there'd be a birth. My father was 45 when he married, or when I was born, or when he married my mom, I believe. I'm not sure. He was 45 when I was born, I think, and my mom was 40, a school teacher from Madison, Wisconsin. So now they not only have disposed of, gone back when I was born, and rid themselves of most of the photographs of my mom, and what they did to my dad is a bunch of fake imposters, not my dad. Look at this picture, for God's sake, that I've been putting up all this time. Does that look like these rest of these pictures here? I'll try to show a few of them, of the man pretending to be King Edward VIII that married Wallace Simpson. Now, and became the illegal Duke and Duchess of Windsor. Now, here is the Duchess is shaking hands with First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt in Washington, October 41. Well, they kidnapped me earlier that year in the spring I had short sleeves, and they brought this picture, and I was christened. It was a portrait of my father holding me. That was in the spring of 41. I was 2 years old. They're congratulating each other on a job well done is exactly what they're doing. Now, I was going to try to find a picture. This is how the bad behavior, this double was, look at him, committing was, if you say it enough and take my father out, and they really took him out when they kidnapped me and my mom, but he had this behavior that he was doing that was attributed to my father when it was not my father at all. This is one of the lookalikes. That is not my father, and if you look closely enough, I'm told by people who have measured and however you do it in photography, no way is it my dad, but I know that, and I'm still trying to tell it. Now, this is him again with Wallace. And here he is. This is not my dad. I don't know who this is. It's not my dad, but they're saying it is. I don't think this is even the same man. But you get the drift. They use doubles. Now, any fool can look at this and know that this is not King Edward VIII. It's not even the double I just showed you, the imposter. So now, where am I going here? I'm going to this. In my book, I was writing about the Illuminati and programming and mind control and chipping people and the Virginia Tech shooting, mass shooting, and that was to take your guns away. The the shootings and everything, and put more so-called to help the students, putting more policemen, law enforcement in the schools. So you're walking right into a trap, but then I've tried to tell it, and people actually hate me. Not all of them. A few good ones have come forth lately after all these years. Okay, this is what I've been writing about, and one of the churches here sent it to me when I was living on the Appalachian Trail, that people were told not to help me, and I was made homeless and everything. Everything stripped from me, and the agency supposed to help me wouldn't help. But here is the book they sent up, our page, and I couldn't carry the book, but it's Implantable Biochips. Tex Mars, he's deceased, but he wrote a lot of books on the subject. It's talking about the biochips and the agency and electronic enslavement in the New World Order, which is came to be when the global government, the Illuminati, the Freemason, Mafia is a good word for it, that kidnapped me and took down my dad. Now then, that all culminated, and they're now the United Nations out of New York, where Rockefeller headquarters is. By the way, Mark Zuckerman, the chairman or created Facebook, is a grandson of the Rockefeller. Okay, this man, Timothy McVeigh, and I said this before this was ever published or when it happened, that he was chipped, Timothy McVeigh, that blew up, helped, and Brian Nichols. Brian's in Oklahoma prison, but he was put to death, and people hated him, and he's a victim. He's told people that let's see if I can get it up here so you can see it, that the U.S. military, U.S. Army, implanted a chip in his buttocks, a computer chip. And they did. This is what I've been talking about. Here they put it in his buttocks, and the place that they like to put him is your root canal. Now, I've shown my father's picture the best I can, and the double. And I wanted to get to this, I guess. I think I've showed enough that you get the gist there. Now, I wanted to go over to this. I'm going to go to this first. Larry Flint was flown out there when, well, they're talking about Scientology on here. That's mind control, getting into it. This is Larry Flint that was shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia, when I was doing the book on mind control, programming people. It's the Tesla files that were stolen in 30. Among all the other stuff, I was writing about this, putting chips, and I'd work for doctors, and they put them in babies. It goes back they had the technology, well, the Tesla files, and it was going on, I believe in 53, Congress bought them, MK Ultra before Congress, and slapped them on the wrist and turned them loose, okay? And so who's the bad guy in this? People that let it happen. Okay, this is April of 84. Mr. Flint did this article saying I knew who was responsible for his shooting. Larry McDonald, who went down in the plane, 00, well, yeah, KAL. And, well, I'm moving around a lot. Let's hope it comes out okay. Nixon of the Watergate and all this was taken off that flight. They knew it was going down. So this is how I'd written about him almost being killed, about mind control and other doctors and the Center for Disease Control, and got a letter from the FBI, 2 of them in 79. April Fool Day of 80, I was almost killed. Seriously, I thought I was going to try to hold this up, but I can't. This would be fun, and most people have all the gear. I don't, and I get moved around a lot. And, okay, let me finish it, Larry. Flynn, I've not seen since then. But I will say this, the car he furnished me, I turned back in after a year's lease, and I've been kept penniless. I've pumped gas, I've put air in tires, I've washed windshields, I've waitressed, I've walked in the hot sun and lived on the Appalachian Trail, which is really rough when you have no matches and you're just thrown out there and they're told not to help me. So I want to read you what happened after then. Mr. Flint, first of all, if I can get this all up here, when I was out there twice during the campaign and he helped me in 83, the last time I was out there, he showed me a galley proof back then that they used, and it was for an upcoming issue of Hustler magazine. It was about Liberty University's Jerry Falwell here in Lynchburg, next door to Roanoke. I never knew that I would end up here, and especially the condition and everything I've lived in. Okay, Mr. Flint showed me that article, and it was about Jerry Falwell, and it was a parody. So later, here's what happened. And I'll try to hopefully get this up here that I meant to put up. Larry Flint ends up here being sued by Jerry Falwell in the POF court, and this is where this happens that I'm going to show you to me. It's a federal building here in Roanoke. Now, he was ahead of me, then brought in here, and then he did the freedom of speech, and the movie was made. He went into court and won freedom of speech suit. And you got Ennis was his probation officer, and then Ennis, I don't know, he worked for the POF building. He was federal. He was told to find me a home, and I'm not going to get into that. He didn't find me a home. It went through this thing about, like, I'm this criminal that nobody wants to let stay. I end up in New York City living for the winter in a YWCA, and it was horrible up in Troy, outside the capital there, Albany. Okay, enough of that. I won't get this up. I end up back here, and I'm leaving out all the hell and freezing and finally getting a backpack and all this. Homeless and kept that way. Really rough. Hot sun, freezing cold. Now, back here, okay, the movie, I'm up on the Appalachian Trail, where I'm going to show you this in a minute, where I lived for a long time, camped. I'm run from one place to the other. I've starved. I've had some of the hikers come up when they had a toilet up at Full Heart Knob and a cistern up there in Travel, where I stayed a lot, camped. Of course, I did a lot of the trail, some of the trail around here too, coal